Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight's headlines, we have the Workday 2019 countries union celebrate International Labor Day. For the international scene, Trump wants to prevent the hearings of banks at the Congress. Welcome to our newsroom. Like the rest of the world, the Republic of Djibouti celebrates Tuesday, May 1st, World Labor Day. On this occasion, the two major trade union centers of the countries, the UGTD and the UDT, co-organize a commemoration ceremony of this day dedicated to workers. The social achievements, but also the great challenges to be met were discussed during this day celebrated in the jubilations and hope for a better tomorrow. These days of commemoration is co-chaired by the Secretary General of the UGTD, and the UDT present was held in front of the headquarters of the two national trade union centers at Avenue Pierre Pascal in the presence of trade union members and Djiboutian workers. The specific objectives of this day were to promote the protections of workers' rights regardless of their sitting. For the trade union leaders, the feast of the 1st May makes it possible to make an assessment of the social gains, but also to approach the futures of the Djiboutian working mass and the big challenges to be taken up in the future, so in the file of the respect of the right of the worker and the improvement of their working condition. The president of UDT unions has emphasized the importance to make a certain balance sheet of the workers' right alongside the public administrations and also the private sector, he said. The Secretary General of the UGTD unions has emphasized the importance to make a certain balance sheet of the worker right alongside the public administration and also the private sectors. He wished all best and happy feast to all the workers around the world. This morning, the Minister of Communication in charge of Postal Communication, Mr. Abdi Yusuf Sugi, accompanied by the Ministers of Budget, Bod Ahmed Roble, the Minister of Justice, Momin Ahmed Sheikh, have visited the locality of Gestir. The objective of this visit in this locality of Gestir was to state the life situations of the inhabitants of Gestir, to see their doleance and their concerns at their arrival. They were accepted by the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Omar Ahmed Wais, the Colonel Ms. Abdul Wasi bin Mohammed, the Chief and Elders, the populations of the locality of Gestir. Delegation has made a brief visit to the new schools construction in Gestir. In this sense, Mr. Abdi Dirir, to accompany the delegation as a representative of MENFOP, remember that the schools was recently built by the government. The lack of schools for children to cause the massive exodus of populations to neighboring localities. The delegation is then taking a sitting with the customary sisters and chief to determine their concern. The elders and notables heads have rejoined the visit and have shown their role and thanks the ministers and all the members of the delegation. The elders welcomed unanimously with the government and thanks the President of the Republic for the constructions of this new school. They said to allow their children to stay with their parents, the ministers, when they have joined the warm homes and thanks the populations for their hospitality. In an interview granted to the national TV, the Ministers of Communication, charge of Post Telecommunication, expressed his thanks and gratitude to the villagers of Gestir for the hospitality and warm welcome that was reserved him and to the delegation that accompanied him, which is composed of the Ministers of Justice and Minister of Budget. Abdi Yusuf Suge said that this visit allowed him to inspect the situations of living conditions of the villagers, as well as the primary schools that was recently built by the government. In this interview, the ministers committed to building new classrooms in the schools to accommodate the large number of students. Yesterday, the sports and training centers for women only was inaugurated in the presence of the 3 women ministers of the government, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, parliamentarian, the President of the Olympic of Djibouti, the Vice President of UNFT, as well as many women executives and leaders of the country. After the traditional ribbon cutting by the director of the center, Miss Fatuma Jama'atu Kanle, surrounded by officials, the site visit was started. The unique centers of the countries has a pool, a large gym, football field, basketball, tennis and hairdressers, a restaurant, and an area of games for kids. Finally, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, Hassan Mohammed Kamil, first congratulated the director of the center and then thanked the First Lady for initiating this major project for the benefit of women. He also assured of this unwavering support for a better promotion of women's sports and the good functioning of the centers alongside the director. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, His Excellency Hassan Mohammed Kamil, received this morning at this ministerial cabinet the President of CAF, Mr. Ahmed for a courtesy visit. This important meeting took place in the presence of the President of the Djibouti Football Federation, member of the CAF, the Communication Advisor, the Director of Sport. The CAF President thanked the Secretary of State for his warm welcome. He then explained the importance of a good understanding and collaboration between the institutions in charge of sport. He also stressed that Djibouti was on track for the development of grassroots football. He finally concluded by presenting to the Secretary of State the excellent work that Suleiman provided at the levels of the CAF. For the Secretary of State, he thanked Mr. Ahmed for his visit, which comes at a time when Djiboutian football is at a new turning point. As part of the official visit for a GS Academy seminar, which is taking place from 29 to May 3, the President of the African Football Confederation, Ahmed Ali, accompanied by the President of the Djiboutian Football Federation, Suleiman Hassan Waberi, visit this morning at the National Technical Centers. From the stadiums to municipal as part of this working visit to Djibouti. He was received on his arrival by the Vice President of the Djiboutian Football Federation, department heads and clubs, as well as other officials. He then made an inspection visit to the various components of the Djibouti Football Federation. The President of the African Football Confederation, SCAF, followed a documentary on the most important project implemented by the Djibouti Football Federation. After the meeting, the President of the African Football Confederation held a working meetings with the members of the Djibouti Football Federation. During this meeting, the two sides discussed the ways of strengthening and developing cooperation between the two institutions in the field of football. The president of the African Football Confederation, Ahmed, held a press conference of local and international media during a working visit to Djibouti, during which he discussed the main achievements since he taking office at the head of this prestigious institution. The president of the African Football Confederation has spared no effort to accomplish the obstacles and the challenges of the development of African football and its challenges at the social level, the creations of training schools and the development of infrastructure, especially in decentralized community, contribute to the development of children's daily life skills through the essential values of football. The executive secretary responsible for closing administration's reforms yesterday held a training session on strategic planning for Arab language employees in the ministerial sector. This ceremony see the participation of the executive secretary in charge of administration reform, Mr. Mohammed Awale Dirir, and the director Idris Ali, technical advisors at the Ministry of Labor in charge of the reform and administration, Ibrahim Ali Ibrahim. This training is in the framework of the efforts of the government represented by the Ministries of Labor for an administrative reform to reform the administrations of the country. The Executive Secretary in charge of Administrative Reform, Mohammed Awale Dirir, said this training is aimed to help Arab agents to have better performance in their employment. These benefits acquired during their training may be going through this employment and show the effects on the entire careers of these public agents in allowing their personal development. A ceremony of contact between the mayor of Djibouti City and the National Agency for the Promotion of Disability was held yesterday in the meeting rooms of the town hall. This ceremony was led by the mayor of Djibouti, Fatuma Awale Usman, and the general directors of NPH, Mr. Douali Said Mahamoud. The purpose of this ceremony is to make known to local elected officials the role of the new agency that fight for the promotions of the right of disabled people in order to improve their conditions and to reinforce their right. The mayor of Djibouti, Fatuma Awale Usman, congratulated the director of the NPH for his initiative. She also reminded that the town hall will be available alongside the NPH to accompany them in their tasks to improve the living conditions of the disabled people. For his part, the general directors of NPH thanked the mayor of Djibouti City, who welcomed them with open. Also present were the president of the Rustica, Ibrahim Said Ibrahim, and the Boulos president Muhammad Ismail Umar, the neighborhood councillors, and the elders of the neighborhood. It was Vendors' Day yesterday at the Djibouti Chambers of Commerce, a day of information meeting between Djiboutian entrepreneurs and contractors from the American base Camp Lemonnier. These days of information for the business war of Djibouti was organized by the Chamber of Commerce in close collaboration with the United States Embassy in Djibouti. The president of the Chamber of Commerce, Yusuf Musa Dawale, and the American ambassadors Alexander Hamilton have taken the towers of table and congratulated many entrepreneurs of the places and the contractors of the Lemonnier camp. This day took place in recent years. These meetings have been synonymous with stimulating economic growth by giving suppliers to opportunity to expand their offers and serve their military under the Africa First initiative. We regret to announce the death of Mohammed Abdou Moqbel Wasil, deceased Sunday last in Djibouti. The deceased was an important trader and well known to the Djiboutian community. The deceased leaves behind him 5 children, several small children, and great grandchildren. May the all-powerful the Almighty welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, Donald Trump wants to prevent the hearings of banks in Congress. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday, along with his family and groups, launched a lawsuit against German banks, Dutch banks, and U.S. capitals want to try to stop them from responding to a congressional summons that studies presidential finances in the U.S. part of the broader investigation into the alleged mission's interference. Several banks were solicited by the Democratic-dominated Congress via described it as intrusive and excessive and without legal basis by Trump family's complaints. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.